Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another discussion recap. Westworld season 4. Westworld is back, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys really did enjoy our episode 4 discussion. We've taken a little bit of a hiatus because of San Diego Comic Con. So we're going to be doing a dual episode recap. So this is episode 5 and episode 6. If you haven't seen episode 6 yet, go and check it out and then come back to this because we're going to be talking spoilers for episode 5 and 6. But we will go in the order that they came out, which is episode 5 first, and then we're gonna go and kind of whittle through 6. But we're not gonna spend all night on this, so just bear with us. We're gonna hit the touch points. And I have my co-host here. What's going on, Mike?
How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Tessa Thompson, Charlotte is insane, but Tessa is playing the role very well.
Yes.
She's equally menacing, and yet I don't know if you feel this way, but even in episode 5 and 6, there was different moments where I felt like underneath her skin, she's not comfortable. Like it's not just that they're not conforming to her demands and she's irritated. It's more like a Agent Smith situation. She wants
Yes.
something more that is not attainable, but yet she's not comfortable within herself because she technically is still living underneath somebody else's skin. Like she was a version of Dolores too. And
What she still
so
is.
right. And so no matter what, she can't get past that. But yeah, I just love what Tessa's doing with this with just off of her acting prowess. Because it's not like we're learning all of this through open dialogue. It's more so certain subtle moments where she looks and gazes and she might do something evil, but then she hesitates, or maybe she's pondering something she just did and just thinking on it and reflecting on it, showing emotion when she's egging on other people to not be emotional. But yeah, did you want to talk on her a little bit before we start going into episode 5?
Yeah, there's two characters actually I believe that are perfect representation of this, but there's the different degrees of seeking control that basically leads to insanity, and that's Agent Smith and Princess Azula. Um, because what you see is that in beginning the introduction of their characters, they seem as all calm, cool, collective, assertive, you know, always staying firm on their square, and then all of a sudden, eventually, when they start to lose control, deal with more complications, you seem to feel like they're basically deteriorating from the inside out. But yet they're
Yep.
but at the same time, there's also like this cognitive dissonance where it's almost like they're not realizing what's going on, you know, um, until it happens, or they're just being in denial of it. Especially like I
Right.
can relate to um um to like Azula and her about this because like at a point she's gonna have a breakdown.
Mhm.
With Smith, like he knew exactly what he was doing, like and stuff. But with Zula, she didn't know like she's losing power. Then actually like even then like um and to a point like the line we get to end of episode 6 is like this whole point of the whole Westworld storyline with the host is like not just with the season but the overall show was like hosts want to create we can create our own new world. But what if you create this new world and the host is like F this, I'm done. I'm good. you know
Right. It's like you decide to go from being the person that was created to being a creator,
Mhm.
and it's never gonna be the way you think it's gonna go. And it's like, what is that? What are the ramifications of your perfect utopia, and what does that mean? Because it's kind of
Yeah.
like when you remove free will off rip, you're gonna get the scenario like in episode 5. Like episode 5, it was very fascinating to me because seeing the man in black and seeing wait, was it episode 5 or episode 6?
Episode 5 was with William. We see a little more of him, like when,
Yeah,
especially
because
that scene with the diner with him.
right, like he just wanted to have like a cordial conversation, but he really just wanted to have somebody to be underneath his thumb. Like he's controlling the people, and like they have absolutely no free will to even think or do anything. But that's the weird thing is that that
Mhm.
was always William. Even the original William loved being in Westworld and putting people underneath his thumb. The
Right.
difference with it in this one is even when Tessa was doing it to the crowd, she did it to William as well. And the old William would never ever. Like that's just not who he is. He never would let anybody control him.
Right.
And I think that leads into a really interesting punchline in episode 6, which we'll talk about a little bit. But when Tessa was doing that to the crowd, she was kind of like, she went through the scenario of like the gods and like why they did what they did, why they, procreated with like some of the just common humans because, but she was like, maybe they were just bored. They didn't have anything else more to do. But it's deeper than that because why did you initiate doing it from the beginning? Like, why are you so upset that your own people are not with it? So it's kind of like you thought you were creating the perfect utopia, but really you just put on another facade of control, and now you're having to reap the ramifications to your actions that you yourself aren't even happy with.
Well, it's like things going that line from Ultron that everyone creates the thing they dread, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that metaphor or that analogy that's kind of going to this. But one thing, yeah, I got commend is talking about this again, accepting that how saying Westworld's back is that they know they keep going back to this question, and not to more biblical influence of it, but like they keep going to topics of free will,
Yep.
control, all these
Yep.
things that was the heart of this show. And
Yep.
so I'm thinking like they're going back to to drawing boards at square one where they kind of dive away from in season 3. So that's where I was like this. I was just eating all of this up, what they were doing, but what they were what it came to, with now with the big reveal of Aaron Paul character with him and stuff. It's just like one, as I mentioned before, like how they felt like the last season they didn't utilize him to the best of their ability, but here fully, especially in this recent episode, just like again, you have multiple versions, like method acting of like you just that's like come on, like that's just like you know acting 101, talking about having different versions of yourself, which is like as an actor that's very a very exciting thing to do.
Yeah.
Some can be somewhat intimidating because you don't know what that how that'll turn out, but again, it's just gonna give new ground, which I haven't seen Aaron Paul do before, which I'm happy to see in what they did in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. Even also the character William, like he has a existential crisis going on because he's being forced to question why he's not getting it. Like Tessa was like, look, the original version was better than you. Like she was like, he was getting results done, and you're just holding back. You're supposed to be better than him. Like, what's going
Yeah,
on here? And to the point, it messed him up so bad. He uh he cornered the person that he was supposed to corner, had her dead to rights, and she just had a conversation with him like, look, I see this tower, like I'm not happy with this. You look like you're not happy with this, and he's sitting there fighting within himself. And he was about to blow her away, and then of course he got caught. But he ends up meeting back with the original William,
original. Yeah,
and I think that Ed Harris does a great job of you can tell who is the host and who's not. And I think that that's just from acting standpoint, I love how they're doing this because he had to see within himself, why is it that I am so different than you? And it goes back to the original William. Original William obsessed about his own reality. That was the whole point. That's what made him. That's what drove him to be the man in black. Is that he one wasn't accepting of the reality around him, and then eventually he questioned his own reality, and then that spiraled him into being this menacing force of nature. And he says to him something along the lines of, "Yeah, maybe it's time for you to start questioning your
your
reality." And I was
reality.
like, "That's perfect! Like,
Yeah, because
great
even then,
writing."
the topic. I've been watching this. A lot of people have been having conversation about this because for me, I'm very like I like philosophy and everything like that. But one thing that really intrigued me was the idea of like talking about is perception reality, right? You know, and what they did in this show, if they just they flip it on its axis because even then where they dissect that single phrase of perceptions reality to to the um meat by meat, because again, it's like there's a lot of layers in terms of what means, in terms of like, it's your perception, if your reality being manipulated based off your perception, is it being, presented to you and you're being in denial of it, or also are you trying to prevent reality from what's actually true, again, meaning that, like you seen with Hale, she doesn't want to accept the fact that, again, she's deteriorating just like all the other hosts are, and then to a point where she basically, at the end of this episode, where it kind of gives me questions of like, what does it mean for her, well, what her plans for Aaron Paul's character, because again, like the whole thing was, I'm gonna give you a little bit of hope so I can figure out, what this variations, know of why you keep it still going on. But now it's just about, is this your situation with your daughter? I'm like, okay, I could get a guess at, but again, like if you're just using him to get his daughter, okay, why can you just basically create a host instead of trying to create the same original, virgin? Like,
Yeah, I have a theory about that, and that's how we were talking about it. In episode 5, even then, it was kind of like she was showing her hand, in my opinion, when she she said to William, "Look what you made me do," and like he was like, "You're bleeding," and she was digging her hand, her thumb into her arm. And the funny thing is this, and I don't know if you've noticed it, she keeps digging her thumb into the burnt part of her arm, not the other arm, but the burnt part. That burnt part to me signifies her her original family, like the family
yes, yes,
that
that was the whole thing that cut everything off, because she was like, "Well, forget y'all. Forget you, Dolores. I'm going to
Mhm.
my family." That, even though it's not my family, and then boom,
Right, right,
like,
and the way that I feel about it is that she keeps cutting herself because she keeps poking at the semblance of humanity that she has, that she's been trying to cut off, but it's kind of like it's unavoidable, because honestly, she could fix her arm. She chose to leave her arm like that, I think, to me, as a remembrance of what happened. And I think every single time like she's frustrated, it's not necessarily because people are displeasing her, it's because she has to go back to the remembrance that she also is dealing with this mortality complex as well. Like her humanity is still showing and it's still coming out. I think the funny thing about it, and I think that's the thing I love about this show, is that the hosts have evolved. They
yes,
all have naturally evolved to being human, basically. Like if you really take Hell at her core, like yeah, she's cybernetic, yeah, she's nuts and bolts, but every action she's doing is very human. Like there are plenty of people that dealing with depression, inadequacy complexes, and have been dealt with
yeah,
trauma that causes them to hurt or harm themselves, whether it's cutting or whether it's lashing out or whether it's verbal abuse or whether it's physical abuse. And that's what she's doing. Like all the different signs are there because of what's happened to her, different traumas and things that brought her to this point. And that's very human. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that it started, of course, with Dolores and what William did to Dolores that brought us down this path. But it's just funny that all of the different hosts are showing levels of humanity. Even when you think about episode 6, because I this is one thing I didn't think about with episode 6. Caleb is dead,
he's
right?
dead.
He's dead, dead. What we're seeing are hosts that are so connected to him that they are themselves recounting what is left of his soul, like as a human, because all their actions don't make sense at all. You know, like they're going through these different moments just for the hope to get something across to the one that they loved, the original version loved, because he's fully aware that he's a host. It didn't matter to him. It was like, I need to help this for my daughter, and that's insane. Like that's pure creation, you know. But it's kind of like, what does that really mean? I think that's where this season to me is posing that question of, okay, now we have sentience, we have hosts that have humanity in them. What does that mean? And where is that taking us? Because it's very destructive from what Bernard said. Bernard's like, we're doomed, everyone's doomed. Nobody's gonna make it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, episode 5. The other thing with this is we got to talk about is it Christine, Chrissy,
Cr-
uh,
Christine.
Christine. So Christine
Oh,
in this
Christina or something. I think it's Christina.
yeah,
Christina.
yeah. I think in this episode was very good for this arc because now we fully understand where this is taking place and what's happening. Because I was like, what is going on with Teddy? Like, I at a certain point, I was kind of like, well, maybe this is Charlotte's subconscious. Maybe this is the Dolores peeking through. But then, when she saw Charlotte, I was like, oh no, this is present day. She's in the thick of it. But Teddy was like, you control this. Like all this is yours. You can control it. And then she starts to fully realize that she is the storyteller. She's the person that's giving everybody roles to do because Charlotte didn't want to do it herself. She was like, I'm going to use another version of my old version to create this, which is funny and sick at the same time. What did you think about this side of the arc in episode 5?
Yeah, well, her, I think it kind of reveals that even then, you thought at the end of season 3, like, wait, are they just killing off Dolores like that? Like, okay, but then going back to no, much as you're seeing Hale, or the evolved Dolores or Hale, like going back to basically where she was tied to her family. I think we're also gonna get a return of the Dolores. Now we all know because again, we've been so used to this whole Wyatt narrative of her. I want to seek humanity and everything, all that stuff, which was easy for narrative purposes, but also stereotypical because we've seen this before, right?
Right,
But now it's like we're seeing that dichotomy of like, okay, now are we going back to that person? But then at that point, is that person is it needed? But is he needed?
mhm,
To like now, it's like instead of me trying to destroy humanity, I got to save it now.
right,
Like so that's I think that's just the irony of it because I still go back to, going to I forgot my name, Bernard. His storyline with him is like those two for me are connected. Going back to the line from season 2, you know, we're it's gonna take both of us to see our people endure, but not as allies, and not as friends. You're gonna try to kill me. In the end, both of us may die, but in the end, our people will endure. I think that's to me the end of the show. Like,
yeah, yeah.
like
There's got to be this balance, and I think initially I kind of was like, okay, evidently it's going to be Dolores, but then Dolores took this weird turn. But now more and more, like the way that Maeve has evolved, not just how powerful she is, but her perception with humanity, like her legitimate love for humans, is going to be essential to moving things forward. And it becomes so prevalent even in the 6th episode because now you're like, Maeve has gone through a
like
whole list of other humans that she's cared about. Like initially it was the people that were working on her, and then
mhm.
it was, her old crew, and then it was somebody else, and then it was Caleb, and now it's Caleb's daughter. Like it's just fascinating to see that this is where they're gonna have to go for the survival of everybody because she's so powerful. I was like, where's her character going? Like, I think they progressed her character so well for this.
But again, also this is a character that she has every right to say hate humanity. She worked at as a brothel, as a prostitute. Like,
Right.
even though she might have been running it, but like she saw the worst of humanity.
Yep,
You
she
know,
did.
Dolores was naive of it all, and point where she was playing the American story girl, and she had Teddy and everything like that. But like, again, it goes back to it's just talking about humanity. It's just like how uh like our narratives, is not really, or how our perception of like what is good and what's bad or what's morals or anything like that is not a fixed thing. It's very
Yeah.
it's changed by as a variable based off of experiences and events that we all occur. But then at the point when we create these loops in our own minds or these own narratives, it basically keeps us complacent, which you can
Yep.
see. Some people say, in the show, like in our host, like I'm bored. Like
It's true.
so I just think this is just a good, like this is just a nice, again, not to just get go all philosophical, but that's basically what the show is. But yeah, I just like I just like what they're doing that making me question about certain things, So
Yeah, it's very fascinating, man. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, so episode 5, I thought that was really good. I was like, man, the show is still going. And then they take this very interesting route in episode 6, showing you the daughter. Like, because it was a weird flashback, and you see, okay, that's the daughter, and that's the mom. It was like, wait, is this a simulation? Are
this
they
is
hosts?
present
Oh,
day. Yeah.
this is the inception of the creation of the rebels that are, resisting, so to speak. And it's her backstory, and then how she connected with the Asian guy, and what drove her to the point that she's at right now, and what has she still been doing? She's still been calling out to her dad. I think that that's what makes the last moment so beautiful, because she's been
Mm.
for years trying and hoping that her dad is going to reach her or hear her message at the very least. And for him to give her a message back, that was probably everything for her.
After how many, like 7, like that was what's almost because it's about 30 years, right? So 7 years,
Yep.
20, yeah, 23 years, 23 years.
Yep. It's insanity. Um, but yeah, the other side of this coin is Bernard in this episode. He was letting her know, like, look, you're so unpredictable. I don't know which way you're gonna go, but we need Maeve to survive this, and we need to bring her back. So he comes up with a different way of being able to do that. And he lets her know, like, look, we don't have enough time, but I'm gonna tell you this: one of your homies is not who they say they are. Because
You will
before,
betray me 3 times.
yo, hey, look, one one of her teammates that was a part of that mission didn't make it back because they were trying to retrieve the person in episode 5. They got him, but it's thinking that one of them didn't make it back, and so she has to choose who it is, and she's gonna have to kill him. While simultaneously, Aaron Paul's character is going through his crucible moment, essentially, where he's realizing everything that's going on. He's seeing all the different signs of how to be able to possibly reach out to his daughter and get some semblance of hope. All for Charlotte to honestly have been trying to use that, but she got something back in return from that. This one conversation at the end where you find out that she's the one that allowed all these things to happen to see if he can get a message to his daughter and figure out what exactly he was going to say. This elaborate scheme, all for him to let her know something simple. Well, the reason why, I resisted ain't because I'm the virus. It's not because I made something different. Your host, your own people don't want to live in the world that you've created. They'd
Created.
rather die than live in the world that you've created. And it's going to continue. And you're going to lose. And the sad thing is, she knew it. Like the moment he said it, like she kind of like she had an emotional reaction. she
She
took this
says what you
man's neck,
right.
snapped it, and walked her little tail over to the cliff, and was already starting to poke and cut herself. But it was like she seemed like she really just wanted to jump off herself. It was definitely a Game of Thrones moment. It looked like it was about to happen.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I was like saying, hey, the bells have rung and everything. Just like put the crown down and just, but no, I think that's, now I think is that foreshadowing that she's gonna take her own self out. Basically, I don't know, but again, I am really intrigued in terms of what's the end goal here for this show, or at least just for this season. Like this, basically, the whole thing is basically un or detoxing or trying to immune like the humanity, or at least that town that been affected by flies and everything like that. So, but in a way that I'm thinking of as an Amazing Spider-Man approach to it, like how they used in the Amazing, well, Andrew Garfield, the first one, when they try to use that device the lizard used to affect everybody. They use the same device to cure everyone. So I think that's what's going to happen. Like somehow that psionic, tower is going to basically be used, whether be destroyed or be used, the way to destroy the flies and all that stuff and everything. That's how it's gonna go. But at least just for this season, because like they always have MacGuffin. Like last season, they had Rehoboam, and now they got the flies and the tower. So
Yeah, it could end that way, but the only reason why I'm thinking it may not is because of Bernard. Uh, if I remember correctly, Bernard basically said that by the end of this, I'm not going to live through this, but everybody else will survive. And I'm just curious, like, how bad does it get that it seemed like it'd be a simple thing. Like, okay, kill Charlotte, destroy the tower, everything's good. I don't think it's that simple. I think that if Bernard needed Maeve and he's being very methodical and systematic about how he's doing all this, there's a reason. And I don't know what that reason is, but I think it's gonna get worse before it gets really better. Um, but yeah, I'm loving it. I really am loving it. But I think the whole Charlotte thing, to your point, what is her end game? I don't know, but I feel like one or two things are going to happen. Either one, she's going to break code and start turning towards humanity, or two, well, I was going to ask you, why do you think? I think this is it's a trick question, but I have a theory behind it. Why do you think that Charlotte picked a Dolores lookalike to be the storyteller of all of this? Do you think it is because she still wants to remember who she was? Or do you think it was because she knows that Dolores was the best person to be able to come up with this? I'm just curious your perspective on it. Why make another Dolores and do it the way that she did it?
yeah, I think it's just a reminder. Like she's thinking that in a way that she was controlled by Dolores, but now she's controlling her.
Mm,
Metaphorically speaking, like it's still her. You understand? We all know it's still the same person, but both of them have evolved to where in season 3, each of these people, you have the original, and then you have the Hale version that gone through different experiences. The original one, she just gone a blood hungry, like no f humanity, and then you have Hale who's like, who am I? What am I supposed to do? And then she learns his family, and now she gets corrupted, and that's got taken away from her, and now she became, you can say, somewhat worse than the original version, but now
yeah.
she's like, all right, I'm paying back for like I was controlled. Now I am the one who's control. Um, I am the one who controlling, and then nobody can control me. But yet at the same time, Dolores will always will because that's her. It's like your version of Hale is dead. So it's just like there's nothing left for her other than what the same mission that Hale or Dolores had in some way. I'm like,
Hmm.
your child gone, husband, everything gone. There's nothing left for Hale anymore.
Hmm.
So that's just like what. So her reality is being changed. So
Do you think that she's secretly wanting that back?
I think her thing. I still feel like they're gonna try to replay, but then it becomes redundant, like the center of the maze for her. But then using Teddy. Teddy also, I'm raising some questions. I'm like, okay, why are you here? You know, who sent you?
Do you think Teddy's real, or do you think that is a part of Dolores' subconscious? Because I was really curious, like, who created Teddy? Who put Teddy out there?
First of all, how did he get out of the sublime? Other than we only know one person, which Bernard. And again, if that's the case, when we're watching two different timelines, like or as we always been, before, where it's like Bernard goes back to Sublime to take him out to save Dolores,
Right.
and yeah, to give him like, hey, because like again, Bernard knows the variations of the story, so he knows what's going on. He's just like, okay,
Mhm.
what path are we taking? I'm like, all right, is this okay? Yeah, let me go make Teddy.
Yeah, I don't think it was Bernard that sent Teddy.
I don't think so either, but that's the only person I can think of. Like, how did he get him own self out and create it? Unless there's someone, there's another third player in the in the field that we don't know. Like it may be funny if it's someone like if it's Ford for some reason,
I was
But even
thinking
then,
that.
that's still like it's still weird if it is, because I'm like, if that's the case, this whole show's over. If they do
Right,
that, it's over.
right.
It makes up
Um,
everything.
so yeah, there's a lot of variables that I don't know. Um,
Like, we
but
see
I
Anthony Hopkins come back, I'm like, it's done.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he does show up. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys, that was our recap of episodes 5 and 6. We missed some stuff here and there, but we hit the main points within
Right.
30 minutes of reason. So hope you guys enjoyed this recap. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. Mike, where can everybody find your content?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Jedi Mike 7 reviews, news, and truth. A ton of content be coming up there. As well, you see me working with Team JVS as well. And yeah, and I'll make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, comment, like, and share. I do videos, movie reviews, also videos about personal development as well. So be on the lookout for that. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, well, we'll be back. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed our dual review. I think there's some other shows we got to go through, but
Some.
we, we'll be back. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Peace, people.
Filing out the top of the
I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing